Welcome to A Few Minutes with the CEO. My name is Al O'Grady, and for the next few minutes, we'll be talking to the Executive Vice Chairman and CEO of Cornerstone Resources, Mr. Glen McKay. Cornerstone Resources has a number of properties in Atlantic Canada and also in South America. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol CGP, on the over-the-counter under CTNXF, and on the Frankfurt under the symbol GWN. Mr. McKay, welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you, Al. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Yes, lots of news as far as Cornerstone is concerned, and I think the first announcement that you certainly want to talk about coming off the top, some changes as far as your senior management team is concerned. Glen, what's going on?
Well, this morning, of course, we've made the announcement that Brooke Macdonald, who has served on our board of directors for the past 2 years, has been appointed as president of Cornerstone. It's a very good time for us to be bringing Brooke on with his level of experience in South America, his capabilities and his capacity. He's just what I feel is needed at this point in time. People who are following our story, of course, are aware of what we're doing in Ecuador. Just last week, we announced a new acquisition. In the very near future, we expect to have authorizations from the mines branch on the other concessions that we hold down there. And we're stepping up our JV activity on the Sherry property, and we expect to do the same down with the Macro property with Newmont. In addition to that, of course, we've established a really good operational platform in Ecuador. So as of Tuesday past, we announced that we'd done our first acquisition in Chile. We expect another one to be forthcoming in the next little while. And we're also examining other opportunities in other underexplored mining-friendly jurisdictions in South America. So with Brooke's background, with his practical experience, we feel that he's just what's needed at this point in time. And in association with all of that, with the developing news in the next few months, we're going to be stepping up our public awareness campaign. We'll be doing road shows across North America and through Europe. We'll be hosting analyst and letter-writing tours. So all of these things together make it a very opportune time with someone with Brooke's skill sets and his experience to come on board in the role of president.
You know, I find it interesting because you and I, we've talked a couple of times, certainly before we were doing this interview. You were saying that, a lot of shareholders have certainly picked up the phone and have given you a call and saying, hey, Glen, what's going on in terms of the road shows and tours and so forth? And you just alluded to that, and I think that's what Brooke certainly brings to the table. I think that all, it's just one of those dominoes falling into place. And, if you want to talk more about that, we'd certainly like to hear more about those activities.
Oh, absolutely. While we're still developing our public awareness and investor relations campaign, I think the evidence in our share price since we got the news out on Gama on January the 4th has demonstrated the value of the various things we've been doing since then. But when we have some solid news, we have to take it up a little step further. We need to get to the large brokerage houses. We need to get to the institutional houses. Need to get, to the various ones who could have a tremendous effect if they decide to come into our stock. So we have to take our story to these ones, the hedge funds and so forth. And then, of course, there are a number of analysts and letter writers that no doubt will be interested or more interested as our story matures. So we're putting together definite programs to make sure that we get our story in front of as many people as possible so that we can maximize any potential return for our investors.
Okay, so if you want to, really tell the story, obviously you're going to have to get some drill results. Now, the Gama in Ecuador, one of the projects certainly on your mind, $64,000 question. When did the drills start turning up at Gama?
Well, it's a $64,000 question. I've probably been asked that question 64,000 times.
And the $64,000 answer is?
Very shortly. We were delayed a little because of the inclement weather conditions down there. Very wet at this time of the year, much more than usual. We've had to improve some road access, build drill platforms, and so forth. And this week we're having an inspection done, which was required in order for us to get fuel storage permits. I've been advised by Yvonne Crépeau, our president of Cornerstone Ecuador, that we should be in a position within days to announce that the drills are turning there on Gama.
Okay, so if they're going to be turning in a matter of days, what are your expectations?
Well, that's a very good question. I think that most of the market is looking with anticipation because of all of the information that's been publicized about Gama. We've had a number of analysts and letter writers over the years who have touted what they feel is a very highly prospective target. Our initial phase of drilling will be 11 holes in 7 targets within a 3-kilometer by 8-kilometer land package where we've done most of the geochemical, geophysical, and geological work. These targets are solid targets, we believe. But, of course, the initial round of drilling are like probes that we're putting into the ground to determine if there's mineralization there, and if so, what grade it is and how thick the mineralization might be. So based on the results from the first round of drilling, we'll determine what we do next. Obviously, we will focus on wherever we get the best results. And then in subsequent drilling programs, of course, our hope will be that we can add to the good news that we're expecting from Gama so that we can show that this has a chance to become a producing mine at some point.
Okay, obviously you're very encouraged, you're bullish on the area, you have high expectations. I think the investment community at large has high expectations as well. You had just alluded about the stock price. It's run up nicely. We'll certainly get into that in future discussions. But just in passing, just in closing, if I may, an interesting anomaly happened as far as the share price is concerned last Friday. Would you care to comment on that?
Yes, those who are in our stock, I guess, were quite shocked, as I was, midday Friday, to see our share price plummet to 36 cents. And when we investigated, we found out that a broker who had gone on vacation had left some stop-loss orders in place, and they got triggered, which seems to have sort of brought about a domino effect. But the good news about that, of course, it showed the strength of our stock, is that we quickly recovered. Not quite as well as we had started the day at 66 cents, but we came back up, I think, to the low 60s on about 2.5 million shares. So while it was a shock to the system, I think probably the greater shock is going to be to the ones who sold their shares at those levels, but the happy investors are the ones who picked them up. I might say as well, Al, that in all of this, with regard to the anticipated drilling on Gama, you know, the drilling is the truth serum. So we always want to keep that in mind, that when we're dealing with a junior exploration company, we need to, as we are very optimistic, we're trying to be realistic, but at the same time, we have to make sure that at the end of the day, when we get the results from the drilling, that really will tell us what we have. So while we're excited, we need to be cautious too.
Exactly. And I certainly look forward to seeing those results, and I'm sure that you and I will be having discussions about those and also further developments with the company. So on that note, Glen, I want to thank you very much for your time and also sharing your thoughts with us about Cornerstone Resources.
My pleasure, Al. Thanks.
Okay. And Cornerstone Resources trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol CGP, on the over-the-counter under CTNXF, and on the Frankfurt under the symbol GWN. And you've been listening to Glen McKay, Executive Vice Chairman and CEO of Cornerstone Resources, on A Few Minutes with the CEO. For RBL Communications, I'm Al O'Grady. Thanks for joining us.